Hey there, this is Eric with More For You Now, and your local MVP is live. Today, I'm excited to be with Derek from Areté Renovators, and he's been telling me a little bit about the company, but we didn't go too far ahead. So, Derek, why don't you give us a little background? You're in the Chicago area. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be.
Yeah, so my personal history was one of I purchased and started getting into apartments. Started sort of you know buying and owning and maintaining, fixing apartments. Managing them, and that blends itself pretty easily into starting to do construction. That got me into very quickly, buying and flipping. All of this seems, of course, like it was overnight, but probably I think I bought my first building 23 years ago. So it's a slow escalation, and a few years ago, two things happened. Somebody came in and offered to buy a bunch of what in Chicago we call doors. I had 15 doors, so someone came in and came to buy a bunch of doors. And at the exact same time, interest rates started showing signs of changing. And with the flipping business, you make all your money on the buy. It's not on the sell. The sell price is fixed. This isn't LA and Miami, and you don't just, oh, I threw a bunch of Italian marble in, so I raised the price $2 million. Your sell price is fixed when you start. You have to hit your numbers, and then you make money. So a combination of things happened, and Arete Renovators had actually reached out to me to get involved a little bit in the apartment investing. We had a mutual friend who was a pretty big commercial realtor in Chicago. He knew about me as an investor. They were looking for something of that nature, and so we got into conversations about doing that. And I had kind of told the guys, for the most part, why would I invest money with you when I'm doing the exact same thing on my own? It doesn't make any sense. And but we stayed in communication, and then slowly, as my investment, sort of runway started to close because of the changing conditions in the economy. This was all pre-COVID,
Mhm.
um, they had been expanding their business a little bit, and they started talking about needing someone to manage projects, and I hadn't worked with clients before. So I, said, it's something I'd consider. And, obviously the great thing about clients is they pay the bills, that's nice.
Mhm.
Everything else about them, not so much. So, but I got involved with them, and they are they're a family business. There was two brothers. Their dad started, as a handyman. They came over, 25 years ago from Europe, and they were both the really didn't even speak the language, and started to learn, and that's how they paid their way. And so there was a lot of things about their story that I liked, because going from being completely on my own to then being involved with somebody else. Sorry, my lights went out. um, Being involved with somebody else was a little something.
Oops, did it give you a notification about the mic? I can't hear you.
To
There
get
you go.
involved.
There we go. I got you back. The mic
Okay.
was cutting in and out again. So, yeah, just pick up there where you were talking about the family. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've been in business, for 20 plus years, and it's just like flipping to a degree. It's a slow grind. First year you make 500,000 bucks, not make profit, let's say gross sales, and you're like, oh my god, it's great. And then, you know. 10 years later, you do 5 million in sales, but now you also have 15 employees. And it's like, we didn't make any more money, but we're working harder. And so it's been an interesting perspective for me. From my construction was very selfish and direct and easy, because we just made all the choices. You didn't have any clients involved, but there's a whole interesting dynamic to the business that you learn from having that involvement of how other parts of the business work. So it's actually broadened my capabilities. And it hasn't always been bad. There's, like I said, there's tons of clients that call me back all the time, but there's plenty where, it's just like, I can't go over this toilet paper holder with you one more time. Like, explained it to you the last time. This is where it's going. So, so yeah, so the business, in the last, I've been with these guys for 4 years, and in the industry per se, for 24 years, and the last 4 years things have grown and gotten better, and their processes have improved, and they're committed. They're not super young guys, but they're not old. They're in their 40s, but I see them wanting to take this business as far as they possibly can.
Okay, that's great to hear. I was going to ask a little bit about process. You had mentioned people coming back to you. So how does somebody find you guys now? Is it word of mouth? Are they doing searches? Is it other strategic relationships with property managers, or how do you guys get to see new customers?
All of those things are good. I would say that you kind of hit it on the head. The searching is kind of number one. I think Google, and I think you can tell by our website how much we invest in sort of search engine maximization, and how our site works is one of it. We do have certain high rises and buildings in Chicago where they just recommend us all the time. We know the building, and we must fall in their price point properly. For people to not feel as though we're too cheap or too expensive. So, yeah, then it becomes word of mouth. I've been in the city for a long time, so I definitely have, people that I just know that live downtown that call me and say, hey, you want to do this? And I'm like, sure, we'll do it. So, but yeah, so that is really how we really get most of our business. But referrals are the best. They're the number one, feeder, because the turnover on the closing on a referral is, it's
Much
probably nine
higher.
out of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense because the trust factor's already built into that. Yeah. Well,
Correct.
I want to do a quick share of your site real quick here, just because I usually ask about, what's the process been like, and what I liked on your homepage right here is usually it's like, hey, tell me a little bit about what the steps are that somebody goes through when they're coming through your process. But the buyer started to receive the power as search and the internet came to life, right? But what you've
Hmm.
done here really nicely is lay out the steps for somebody to come in and say, what exactly am I going to be doing when I'm working with you?
Yep.
So, so
Yeah.
this is really nice, nice the way that you set this up for sure. You've got a lot of nice visuals from your different portfolios. Is there anything that you know of offhand that's something that really unique or that was really exciting that's on here that you'd like to share about, like from a project perspective?
Well, I mean, I think I don't even know how quickly they rotate some of those things out of there, like what we have, like that Hermosa, is that Hermosa bathroom still in there? Where it says like a little Hermosa bathroom, like, all of them present some type of challenge. And one of the things, that you're talking about the process is that, I always try to tell, the team, like, look, every single job is going to have a thing. They're going to have one thing that the clients care most about. It could be the wallpaper wall, it could be their fancy toilet that heats up. That's the one thing you want to just hit perfectly. Like, you'd be shocked how much well, probably not you, but how people will, have an electric toilet that needs to get plugged in, and then the electrician will forget to put the outlet down by the toilet, and they will think it's the end of the world that's happened. And it's like, hey, he'll be here tomorrow. It'll take no time. He'll just, he'll run some pipe, put a box in there, pull the wire, and we're all set. But if it's something they care so much about, that's the thing I always point out to the guys. Like, this is their baby. Let's make sure that we get this done right, and then they'll be happy about it.
Yeah, plus rightfully so that you guys are doing what seems to be like magic to them, right? Because it's you're. I talked to I've got a remodeler that we had on a bathroom remodeler we had on last week specifically, and that was my intro there. I said I know my strengths and weaknesses. Most of my work was done outside or under the ground, so putting a toilet flapper in is good for me, but making that
Yeah.
stuff magic stuff happens like you're talking about is over the top. But yeah, real nice layout. I want everyone to see, that's what you guys do, and you've got quite a mix here. So I know you talked about the number of doors and being downtown. What else do you do commercial wise?
So we've done, in the city, there's a lot of high rises, obviously. So we've done, a lot of lobbies. We've done a lot of party rooms. I actually just left a top floor party room, in the Gold Coast, in Chicago, that they're looking to redo that they haven't touched in 30, 40 years. We've done a dental office. We do. There's a Pilates studio in Chicago that I did their first one, and they're looking to open a bunch more. And she's been, under negotiations to lease a couple of spaces that have fallen through, but seems eager to go back to us. I did a bakery where, the dough comes frozen and they throw these cookies in an oven, and then you serve warm cookies or something, of that nature. I never got any cookies, to be honest with you, but that was that we've done that. So I do like commercial spaces because there's just the owners of a commercial space seem to treat it as a business, and the number one part of their business is to get it done on cost and get it open and going so they can earn money. They're not emotionally tied to it. It's not like their home where they excuse me, where they seem to take the smallest details a little bit more personally. And and it's really hard, Eric, because when you start this, you're building trust.
Yep.
Everybody has this terrible contractor relationship, this story about how someone took their money and walked away. So you always come in on the defense, like they're already accusing you of sucking before you've even started. And then you got to build up this relationship with them where it's like, look, the things that you worry about, they're just a Tuesday for me. It's really no big deal. It's, I worry about the major things like fire and flood and, structural integrity and things like that. The paint color not being the shade you thought it was going to be, it's no big deal. We'll just repaint that wall. And the problem is that by the time they really trust you, the job's over and you're starting the whole experience with somebody else.
That's interesting because that would be. I'll ask a question about that again. That might tie in here a little bit. So, where do you see driving forward and future casting a little bit over the next, say, 12 to 18 months? What are you guys working on or working towards? What are some goals there?
Well, the natural growth isn't just, the amount of projects, it's also the size of projects. So when you start doing, full houses, full additions, gut out basements, dig outs, things like that, there's a lot of margin and money in kitchens and baths, but you can't just grow your business on kitchens and baths because there's just not going to be enough of them. So you have to expand into these other areas, and it's kind of like when a famous Hollywood actor does like a big budget movie and then they do like a passion project. And it's the same thing with construction. You need to have big jobs that might keep your team busy for a year, and then in the middle you're doing jobs that you can roll through in a month or two. So as far as future casting, we're probably looking to, continually upgrade the, sort of the tick size of our jobs, where we're starting, and you can't just look at more expensive jobs in the sense like, oh, okay, someone did a $40,000 bathroom. That's cool. And now they're doing an $80,000 bathroom. Wow, that's going to be a lot nicer. But no one's going to do an $800,000 bathroom.
Mhm.
You're going to hit a plateau where it's like, okay, that's as far as that avenue is going to take you. And so you need to have the skill set to do, maybe more whole construction jobs than just cosmetic flips.
So, if you were able to operationally and get more of something in there and automate that, that would help a lot if you were able to be in front of the right people at the right time for that particular type of work.
For sure, for sure. And that includes the commercial space as well,
Mhm.
because I feel like commercial, there's a bigger, I don't want to say opportunity, but but there's a maybe a more vast amount of work out there that kind of can do both of those things. And now you can't necessarily flip a commercial space that quickly sometimes because there's a lot that goes into the mechanicals of it and everything else. But yeah, to answer your question, being in front of the right people at the right time for that stuff is helpful for sure.
What would you see as some of the challenges, whether they be, we talked a little bit about, bureaucracy. Is it just the paperwork and delays? Is it new customers, or is it other competition? What would stop you from scaling where you want to be?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think bureaucracy. I mean, if bureaucracy in Chicago would be taxes and things of that nature, which I'm sure I can't speak to every city or every area for this, so I'm sure it's all there's not an extensive amount of extracurricular bureaucratic red tape in Chicago. To be honest, the city of Chicago it expedites things pretty quickly because they have so many projects versus what the suburbs do, some of those suburb cities, because each city in the suburb is a completely different animal, so it's a completely different change. I mean, I really think competition would be one, and I think like I said, getting the clients to follow the process, because we're a design build firm. So from soup to nuts, you don't need to do anything. Just pick out the material and then just stay away and answer my questions, and everything will get done exactly how you want it. But it's a strange dynamic construction because everybody owns a house and everybody's done work on their house. Therefore, everybody thinks that they're the one that's going to like break the contractor like a horse to get him to do it the way they want it done. And he's never going to be late and everybody's going to show up on time and all these things. And they just, I've had so many people talk to me about HDTV. I mean, it's just like, it's not real. It's not real, but they've watched enough of it so they think they can manage their project. And as I've said to a lot of them, if you can afford for me to be here, then you're probably successful. So I'm not coming into your office telling you how to be a doctor. Why do you think you can come to the job site and tell me how to be a contractor? Especially with guys that I've known 15 and 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the one guy said his kid's sick. I believe him because I've known him for 19 years. So that's why he's not here today. So the challenge more than any of it is just getting those clients to just trust the process. And I don't know, to be honest, if you're ever gonna really solve that. You know what I mean? I don't really know if you're ever going to.
Well, they don't see the production value behind the scenes on those shows, right? There's just the final
Yeah.
cut, and you can just fast
Yeah.
forward through the
Yeah.
commercials if they're on a network.
Uh,
It's funny. Do you see any trends that are going in the marketplace with where you're working that are up and coming in your space?
I don't know if from a design standpoint, I don't really pay too much attention to it. I don't really care, whatever, because I'm not convincing them what their house is going to look like. So, I guess, there's a lot of, wellness rooms and sort of like holistic type of things going on where people have like sound or smells in their bathroom and a lot of like LED lighting and things that are sort of soothing. So that's a little bit of a trend, and I guess I noticed that because I have to install that stuff. I have to put it in. So I'll be like, what the hell is this? So it is kind of fun when those new things start because I get to see it and figure out what it is. So yeah, from that standpoint, obviously AI is the other thing. It hasn't really touched execution at all, but it definitely is involved in design and in figuring things out.
Mhm.
You're definitely asking it to answer questions for you, which it's doing pretty well.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's funny because depending upon the industry and the space, I was talking to somebody else about content and AI, and she's an SEO expert, and so she still says, "Look, you can use it to come up with ideas, but Google still knows. So when you want to keep the brand voice, you want to write and be original and not have it do that. But yeah, I can see how along that customer journey with a lot of those early stage Q&As and some things back and forth that you collapse that customer journey quite a bit. I believe and increase their education. So let's talk a little bit about partnering as far as other people and other people you'd like to meet as far as who are good. We touched on it briefly, but who are good people that you'd like an introduction to in your market?
Well, I mean, I think for us, it's any like, decision makers, especially from the commercial space, property managers, building engineers, all of those kind of guys, and even commercial, commercial builders, because sometimes there's some synergy there between, what they build and like what some of the tasks they need done on their job, or they'll bring people in, so any of those are definitely some people that I would be interested in, getting to know.
Okay. And the best way that somebody would reach you directly is it call the number, the 773 number? Is that the best way to call first, or would they go and fill out one of your contact forms? How should they get in touch with you?
I think, yeah, I think that's probably the best way, is to call me that way. And then, it'll either go directly to me or someone from the team will shoot it over.
Okay, and that's on the site at 773-683-3033. Right.
Hmm.
Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Because I'm going to stream some stuff across the screen when we cut this together, so I want to make sure the best way that they know how to get with you.
Yeah.
So, you guys are on a great path. From I heard what you said about some of the partnership and automation. So if you could wave that magic wand and there was one thing that was completely taken care of and that headache was no longer there, what would it be when it comes to your operations or the front end of the marketing and automation?
I mean, there's only one, like I said, there's only one real headache, and I don't know that it can be resolved. And that is really, like I said, getting the clients to understand from the beginning what the expectations for them and for us are. We're going to see a client on Thursday who's getting a custom bathtub, which will take 6 to 8 weeks. It has to be plumbed from underneath and maybe built on a platform. I'm not doing any of that until the tub's there. It's just I'm just following the specs. I mean, come on, you're just flying blind. So, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to demo this guy's bathroom and then be like, all right, see you in a couple months. And of course he doesn't expect that, because I'm sure sales and design never really gave him that information, because you don't want to turn them off. But I can't just have the guy call me once a week and be like, are you coming this week with the tub? No, I'm still not coming.
Uh,
It's still not here. So that'd be the magic wand, is
okay.
just having those clients know, okay, this is what I signed on for.
Okay. Well, I think I've got some interesting ideas based on what you said today. So I'd be thrilled to share some of those with you. Um, Final comments or anything you wanted to get out, or any words of wisdom for somebody that might be looking to not necessarily break into the competitive space, but from your years on the job, they want to do something different in the design, build, or renovation space. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, really, just from a words of wisdom standpoint, it would be, you know, pretty basic quote. You know what I mean? It's like under promise and over deliver. And if you continue to do that, you're going to be fine. But telling someone you're going to be done in 6 months when you know it's a 9 or 10 month job is going to do nothing but kill you. So, tell them it's a 9 month job, get it done in six, and you will never have a happier person. So that is definitely, there's only two stresses really in construction, Eric. It's time and money.
Yeah.
That's it. And you can eliminate one of them so simply. It's just don't have these expectations about when a job's going to get finished. Don't think, oh, it's a 3 or 4 month job. It's like, well, yeah, it's a 3 or 4 month job. If everything goes perfect, everybody shows up and you don't change a single thing and there's no problems, but two of those things happen and it's six like that. And then all of a sudden you're asking, why did it take so long? It's like, well, because it took you 3 weeks to pick a toilet that I said I can't do anything until I have the toilet, but you've forgotten that now because it's been 4 months later. So that is definitely the things that I try to follow as soon as I meet the clients.
That's
You
it.
know,
You keep reasonable expectations and do what you said you're going to do, and you're going to be fine.
100%.
Cool. Well, Derek, thanks so much. I appreciate you hopping on with me today on your local MVP, and I'll be looking forward to talking with you again soon.
Yeah, anytime.
All right.